When you think about your own mental health in relation to your work, do you see it as an influence, a hindrance, a constraint, or a theme, or all of the above? Is your grappling with this apparent in the form of the content of your work, or both? Do you hate questions about this? I do not hate questions about this. I have never shied away from talking about mental illness and how that's affected me, because I seem to not be able to avoid any subject in my life. And mental illness, has been so familiar to me, whether dealing with my dad being bipolar, becoming bipolar myself, watching friends deal with depression. It's everywhere. I think it's kind of a hard subject to avoid, and I've always felt better just talking about it. Let's see. Do I see it as an influence, a hindrance, or constraint? There was a point when I was applying for grants, a few years after I had a long spell in the mental hospital and had written a ton of songs about that experience. And I recognized at the time that it's a unusual and highly dramatic story. It was really interesting to see my brain get as extreme as it did. I got extremely depressed and then extremely manic. And, it's like I was given this opportunity to see the total range of my emotional spectrum. And there was something about it that was very fascinating, and I thought it would make a great album. And I applied for grants to try to record the full story. I didn't get the grant, and in the end, I was happy, because I think to make that album and tour it after would have defined me in this one role and on this one issue. And though I'm very happy to talk about mental illness and what it felt like and what it means to me now to still have to constantly work on it, it is definitely not the full picture of me. And it has ebbed and flowed through my life, and sometimes it goes away completely, and sometimes I really have to watch it. But I have had very few experiences where people heard about those stories and defined me by it, and it really pisses me off, because I know that it's just a piece of who I am, and it's not the whole story. And I really resent those few times when people have kind of looked at me in a way that I could just see that all they were seeing was that one little sliver of my life. And, people are more complicated than that. So I think the same way with my writing, I guess with grief as well, it weaves in and out as I need to process it, but it is not the sole subject of what I'm trying to do with music. And lately I'm trying to write in a way that's as open and expansive as possible, so that other people can find themselves in my stories. I want it to be a shared experience.